Today we're here with Ben Thiefels and Nate Ruppel. We're talking about acceleration of a growth company. And the background here is, every company reaches a inflection point at some point or at many points where they want to launch a new product or they want to enter a new market. Or sales just are not going the way they want because they're either going negative or they want to prepare for an acquisition and they got to do something. The problem is the bad guy in the room is all the executives argue about what is the right thing to do. And nobody's really sure and nobody has the data to prove what's right. And so we've developed a process to address that exact problem. And it's really all about how do you accelerate a company forward in growth when you don't have perfect information? And we use a data-driven agile process. We're going to go through that today on how we do it and the tools we use to create that environment. And we'll just jump right in. So, we use an analogy here of hunting. So, if you're going to go out and you're going to hunt antelope, you're probably going to take a long range, high powered rifle with a big enough bullet to, hunt an antelope. But I know that's probably politically incorrect to be hunting antelope, but that's a very different thing than if you're hunting pigeons, which you're going to take a shotgun, and go out there or make a trap and throw popcorn out or something. But, you got to use the right ammunition and you got to use the right gun and you got to know what the target is. And so we talked a lot about the target, using client profiling, ideal client profiling, and voice of the customer research. But today we're really talking about bullets and guns and how to use them in the market. And so I thought we'd start with Ben and Ben Thiefels at benthiefels.com to talk about how to given voice of the customer and ideal client profiling and things, what do the bullets look like? How do you build the bullets, and what do you use them for, and why? Ben, take it away.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. And I think the key here, before you dive into content creation, the bullets and the guns, is to make sure you have your ideal client profile down and your core messaging and positioning down, because you want to make sure that you're building consistency throughout all these assets before you get started. So once you have all of those things settled, what do you create? I think that's the question that a lot of companies struggle with. And we use a simple 3-part framework to help map content to specific parts of the sales and marketing funnel. It's why buy anything, why buy mine, and why buy now. And this is a super fast and easy way to organize content creation because 70% ish of your sales cycle happens online before you ever even speak to a customer. They're doing their own research. So it's super important that you have all of your bases covered when it comes to content. So getting into the first stage, why buy anything, that's the top of the sales funnel, the sales and marketing funnel. And this stage is all about problem definition. So you want to present a problem that you know your customers have, and you'll know this from your voice of the customer research and market research, and then discuss the benefits of solving this problem. So the key isn't to sell them on your solution at this point. This is all about building rapport and positioning your company as an expert. So examples of why buy anything content are blog posts, infographics, videos, social media posts, podcasts. The stage, again, it's all about education. So moving on to why buy mine, that maps to the middle of your funnel. So once your target customer knows they have a problem, you need to position your product as the solution. And obviously this is marketing 101, but it's still helpful to think in these really simple terms. So why buy mine content is specific to your product and can either be feature or benefit based. We definitely skew towards more benefit focused language, but sometimes it's appropriate to have feature focused language. And you just want to make sure that all your content maps back to the problems that you solve. And examples of why buy mine content are product data sheets, case studies, product videos, webinars, email courses, white papers, analyst reports. There's tons of different content that falls into this middle funnel. And that's really what is going to educate your customers on how you solve their problem. So once your target customer knows that your product can solve their problem, it's time to close the sale. And that's when Why Buy Now content is built. So Why Buy Now content is built specifically to incite action. So if you have a high price point and a longer sales cycle, think about maybe creating a custom tailored demo or setting up a free or paid proof of concept. You could also reach out to existing customers' references or create maybe like a net price calculator to reinforce ROI. This is also a great time to invest in competitive research so you can provide detailed breakdowns of how you win out over your competition. If you have a low price point and a short sales cycle, think about how to create urgency. Maybe a seasonal or holiday promotion or a free trial. A good pro tip is to have this content or is to give this content to your SDR team so they can distribute it in outreach campaigns to broaden your reach. And I think this is something that Nate will touch on as well. But when creating content, always remember to ask yourself what purpose it serves and make sure to create at least a few pieces of content for each stage to cover your bases. And don't be afraid to test new things.
Cool. Thanks. Nate, I can see you have a question there, a comment.
I agree. I mean, if you're on the sales side, if you're creating assets towards your ideal client profile, I think it's great to also have a conversation with your sales team, just to make sure that we all understand what the buyer's journey is, and understanding not just who the buyer is, but also the purchasing process that goes along with it. So that way we really can enter the conversation that's already being had in the buyer's head and produce the content that aligns with that buyer journey at those different steps. That sometimes, and this could be a challenge for different marketing teams, is you're not always creating the assets that that we like ourselves, but necessarily what we tend to overproduce things too much. What we really want to look at is producing the assets that aren't built for our likes, but for our prospective clients' likes. And so that way the prospect, someone who may just want to come on your website and see a quick, simple, easy demo, we don't overthink it, overcreate it, but we're creating content that can be used to proactively overcome obstacles within the buyer's path so they can successfully convert. And that way we just know from talking to the sales team, what is the primary buyer objections? How does the sales team typically talk through those? How do they overcome them? What are the different stages within a sales team's buying process? And what actions typically are taken by the sales team to get people onto that next stage? And outlining those objections can create just killer targets for the marketing team to be able to create assets to move those deal stages forward and along. But as we do that, we just want to make sure that they're not product centric. I think that's a little bit of a trap, but rather they're not focused on selling features, but really want to focus on being buyer-centric content that communicates the value we bring specifically to the needs of the customer.
Yeah, I'll kind of amplify that. You use the word alignment, and I
Yeah.
think it's the right word. I think a lot of companies, they get stuck with being kind of myopic about, well, our product is wonderful and it does these things and you should love it for what it does, but they're not good at, taking their shoes off, putting their customer shoes on and going, yeah, but I work for this big organization and this is my job and here's my pain. Help me solve my pain. And this is where I do my research and this is who I trust on a recommendation. How do I influence those people so that, is it Gartner? Is it Capterra? Is it a peer group you're associated with? Is it the folks you work with? I mean, where is this influence? And every company, every market, every product is different that way. And I think that's one of the key things that you have to understand to make this work and be aligned with the buying process, not the selling process. So I think that's great. And then just real quick, I have a question for Ben. So Ben, you rattled off like all these different things that content that could be built. But if you had to pick your top three in Why Buy Anything and Why Buy Mine, what would be in general the top three that you would go after?
I would say for why buy anything content, I would make sure that you have a solid ebook or white paper that um, that does a good job of outlining the problems that your industry faces. Not necessarily what your product solves, but um, more general problems in the industry. These are great lead generation tools to get people into the top of your funnel. For why buy mine, I would say a good data sheet and at least one solid case study. You want to make sure that you're able to show how your product has helped others, and also make sure that, to Nate's point, you're getting at that benefit focused language. Um, and for why buy now, that really depends on your product and your price point. We've seen really great results with free trials and making sure that people are able to use your product without speaking to a salesperson. If you're in more of a higher price point with a longer sales cycle, a really concise, solid product demo video is a really great way to go.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, guys.